This is chapter 1, how, when and where. So now we are talking about colonial. And why we need to learn it? Because many historians refer this period, British period and modern period, as colonial. Colonial, you might be living in certain colony. So what does it mean? That is, a colony will have, say, some houses. One of them will be yours. So these are certain houses in a colony. And then there will be a chairman, a secretary of that society or a colony, and they will take care of everything. That means they will take money from you as, say, maintenance charges, and they'll take care of your society. So this is how colony word has come. Now, if I take you to the actual picture, these are red colors showing the British colonies. So Canada, India and Australia all were the British colonies. These were British colonies. So colony means when the Britishers, what they did, they came to different countries, especially ours. They established their rule how? By subjugating, by conquering, by these local Nawabs and Rajas, the kings, local kings. So, if colony we are talking, that is, the Britishers were controlling over the economy and society, not only in India, but all the places I am showing you. Economy, society, and also they would collect the revenue, that is the money, tax, kar, lagan. For what? For meeting their expenses, not for betterment of the country, but for meeting their own kharcha, expenses. They were taking revenue from Indians only. And then meet all their expenses. This is very important. Okay. Then what they would do? Whatever good they want, whatever things they want, it may be anything like crop or anything, agriculture product or manufacturing product, whichever was there. They would take them in a very, very cheap, low prices, and they would sell it wherever they go in higher prices. For example, the crops. That is, Champaran, it happened that they forced the farmers to grow indigo. Because for the cotton, for the clothes, this indigo was very in requirement in the Western countries. So that is how they forced people. So they produced crops they needed to export. They will get money from jute and cotton and many others. So they would produce only those crops that can be exported so that they can make money or profit out of it. So whatever values and taste we have, that is, we have pizza, burger and etc. All this has come from Western countries only. We didn't have any pizza, burger or macaroni or any. So they also bring the same. Whatever values and tastes we have, the custom they change, the practices they change. See, if you're a Hindu or a Muslim or a Sikh or a Isai or any caste creed, whenever there is a birthday, what you will do? This is not our culture. I don't say we would do it, we should do it, we should have all the cultures. I'm just saying that before your any anniversary or birthday or whichever event is there, a cake will always be the main part of that event. But this has come from different countries. So the caste, the different people, caste, creed or any, so they change. So the custom, practices and all these were changed by the British rule. But these tribals, for example, urban people, all these different classes and groups, they have different experiences. I'm just saying they have different experiences of their changes. So this our past and this S is for plural because India is a wide country. Our subcontinent has all the kind of people and they experience the British rule differently. That is why our past S. Now the question arises, how do we know? That is, if we are talking about 250 years and 300 years back, we look back at these years, how do we know? First thing is, history is only based on fact. It's not a story. It's not anything which has not happened. So history is always backed by sources. It has to have some legitimate source. That is how we know it. So the first thing was, how do we know all this, is the administration. Because the Britishers, when they administer, that is Prashasan, they would have official records. So whatever we are getting, most of the things we are getting from the information we are getting from official records. Because Britishers, they have one belief, very firm belief, that everything should be written. Writing is important. Whatever is there, write it. Whatever is there, write it. So any instruction, nirdesh, any plan, yojana, any policy decision, nitigat yojanaएं, any agreement between them, two parties, multiple parties, any agreement, or if someone has done something wrong, there is investigation going on. So all this investigation also, all these instruction, plans, policy decision, agreement, investigation have to be clearly written down, penned down, likho, right. That is what the firm belief of Britishers were. So, whatever they write, they were saying that if you write, it is easy to study them. It is easy to debate them. When you have all things in written, what happened actually. So, for example, investigation is going on between two parties. So, if somebody is investigating and if one has proper written material, it can be debated, it can be investigated. So memos, notings, reports, all these were now the administrative culture at that time, which this only produce these all memos, notings, reports, which we still have. All these things are the important sources of the history we know. Okay? So what I am trying to suggest here is, the Britishers, they wanted everything to be written. They also have a very firm belief that all things which are there, documents or letters, they need to be preserved. They need to be kept properly in almirahs, in some place where it can be preserved. Chuha na kha jaye, dimak na kha jaye. So they want to get them preserved. First thing, writing was important. Second thing, they wanted everything to be preserved. So till now, if you see today also, every office, government office has a record room. If you talk about Tehsildar office, collectorate, commissioner office, provincial secretariat, the law courts, any office you talk about, they all have, this is office, there will be a record room. Every office will have a record room. Whatever is being written, any memos, any notings, any reports has to be in this, has to be preserved in these record rooms. So that is how special institutions, special buildings have come up, which are called as archives and museums. Abhilekhagar and museum. Okay? Archives means Abhilekhagar. Museum. Archives are for the written material, documents, etc. Museum is for some thing, means say some talwar or some some thing which they would keep in on their desk, like that. Okay. So I'm talking about 19th century. What happened here? Around 1800 I'm talking about and plus. At that time, there were people only writing. There were no printing. So this report, letters and memos, say if some officer is writing to another officer, or a superior officer is giving instruction to the lower officer, or the lower officer is giving back the information to the senior officer. So all these officials, provincial administrators, at this time it was not printing, so all these are there. But at this time, these people called the calligraphists, Naqal Navis, Khush Nafis. Calligraphists are people who write very well, who have a very beautiful handwriting, specialized writer. So at that time, only writing was done. I'm talking about early 18th century. So calligraphists, again understand, those who write well. and everything which is written is being written by them. But mid of 19th century, that is around 1850 and plus, printing was there. So now the printing was so popular, it gained so emancipated in no time, that now the multiple copies were being printed. So it was not necessary that it take time for the Khush Navis or Nakal Navis or a calligraphist to come and write. Okay, let me show you one picture. This is National Archives of India, Abhilekhagar, Indian Abhilekhagar, and then this is the National Archives of India, and you can imagine it came in 1920s. 1920s, even our fathers were not born at that time. 1920s, हमारे पिताजी भी नहीं थे इस समय. 1920s. So this New Delhi, this National Museum and National Archives were made where the Viceroy or the Governor General would live. So it was so close to their resident. Can you imagine how important these archives, Abhilekhagar and museums were? That is, it was so closer to the Governor General and Viceroy's residence. Again, museum and archives. So I'll give you what kind of information we still get in National Archives. Here is a report to the Home Department. In 1946, there was a mutiny, Bagawat, revolt. So it was happening, and this broke out on the ships of the Royal Indian Navy. That is at the Navy, that is the shipmen and at the dockyards. Okay, Royal Indian Navy, this mutiny was instigated, or it happened, it broke out. So now these places, as I show you, first at that time Karachi was in the subcontinent only. Pakistan was not there. So Karachi was there, and Bombay and Vizag, Visakhapatnam, they were important dock, they were important ports where ship would come and stay for loading and unloading, for refueling. So this is the Director of Intelligence HQ report. This report is saying that what all different places of dock, the information being sent to the headquarters. That is, to Delhi it was being sent that okay, what is happening? In Bombay, something is happening. In Karachi, something is happening. For example, in Karachi and Visakhapatnam, Karachi was saying that around 301 mutineers, see here. So I'll just give an example of Karachi, that around 300 plus mutineers, that is the Bagawat wale, were under arrest, and some who are suspected, they are also being arrested. And also in Visakhapatnam, the information went to the center headquarters, was everything is fine and we are taking care of everything. No further trouble is there. So what I'm trying to say here is museum and where these were very important. This Abhilekhagar archives. Now the second thing which comes, what Britishers has done is surveys. They said survey is very important. I'll give an example. What if your father want to take a TV, they will ask you, okay, tell me what TV I should buy. You will say, I want an internet on the TV. Somebody say, I want game on the TV. So mother will say, I have channel, Saas Bahu channel. So all these are survection. So the Britishers were very firm believer that if you want to know something, you have to do something, you have to know that thing. If you have to do something, you have to know something. So if you want to rule a country, you need to know properly about that country. If you want to administer, you want to have a prashasan on that country properly, you need to know, and for that knowing, you need to have a survey. So survey became very important for colonial administration, British rule. So surveying or survection, or knowing about each and everything through different sources or actually going to the ground is survey. So I am talking about early 19th century, it means 1800 and plus. So surveys, very detailed surveys were conducted by the Britishers, by the colonial rule. So I was talking about 19th century, early 19th century. So it was a very, very detailed, minute surveys they carried out. First of all, first map of the entire country, that is Naksha of whole country. Then also the revenue, because money was coming from revenue, that is kar, lagan. So revenue surveys for each village. You can imagine the minuteness, the deepness. That is, this is a place, what amount they would get, knowing the topography, whether it is terrain, whether it is mountainous, whether it is plain. So all about the topographical surveys were done. So land formation they need to know. Then what is the soil quality, whether it is an alluvial soil, whether it is a black soil, white, this red soil or arid soil. Then flora and fauna, the animals and the plants. What are the local histories of that particular place, and what is the cropping pattern. So what crops are being grown, how many times the crop can be grown, which crop is more, land is fertile for which crop. And if you go ahead, you will see that this 1890s around, means end of the 19th century, they would do census every 10 years. Mataganana, counting people. Basically, it's counting people. So every 10 years they would count people, how many people are there in this subcontinent. So not only this counting of people were done, they added more flavor to it. They also wanted to know the religion, the caste, the occupation, means what is the caste, creed it belongs, Hindu, Muslim, what, occupation, whether he is a Raja or a Rank. So the botanical survey, the zoological surveys, the archaeological surveys, the anthropological surveys, the forest surveys, everything was done. You see the picture which I showed you here in the right below part. The Survey of India, the Botanical Survey of India, the Geological Survey of India, the National Survey Sample Survey Organization, all these are survey departments only. Okay, I'll just show you a picture, very fine picture. It's Sita Phal, the wife of Ram Phal, custard apple plant. So this also was so important. They went to each and every detail. Can you imagine? So first they said that writing is important. Second, they wanted to procure and preserve everything. Third thing, they wanted to survey. They wanted all the surveys. These things you have to keep in mind. I'll show you one more picture. This is the mapping and survey operation which is going on in Bengal. And this is 1832. Can you imagine 1832 I'm talking about? At that time, Britishers were actually surveying when we were fighting for Hindu Muslim, and still we are fighting for Hindu Muslim and Sikh Isai. And they were, I just, I don't have problem with British at all. They were doing good work. They were not doing good work for Indians, of course. So, if I write something for your friend, if I am writing something for your friend, do you also believe that what I am writing is correct? Right? You may say, no, you have written wrong. This is not my friend. He is not like this. So actually, what official records do not tell, what official records tell us, we know. But what official records do not tell us is also very important, because these official records are written by officers, that is the memos, the reports, the notes, everything is written by whom? Officers. It's official, whatever official thought, how office were going, how there is a communication between different offices. This is what we know. So, what they wanted to show for the future generation, for the posterity, that is, they wrote, okay? But they would not give us a good idea. These official records won't tell us about the country people, about the village people, about anyone who is, for example, here it is given peasant, tribals and the poor who are working in mines. So the normal people, we don't know about them. So these official records, when we are not getting all the information, we are getting information from official record. I'm not saying we are getting plenty of information. But what about the normal people at this time? So we need to go for some other sources. We need to go for some other sources, some other strot other than official records to know about what was happening at that time. That is why we are talking about how, when and where. Okay. So from where we are getting information? From the diaries of the people. People will write their diaries. from accounts of pilgrims. People would come for their pilgrimage, going to Makkah, Medina, etc. Like this, they would come here. India, the travelers, they would just want to, explore the subcontinent. Some autobiographies were written of important personalities. They wrote their own jeevani, and there were popular books and booklets, small booklets, which are also available in the local markets, local bazaars. These all are the sources which you give us an information about the normal people who were there at that time. Okay? So the learners are those, let me tell you about leaders and reformers first. The leaders and the reformers, the Neta and the Samaj Sudharak, they also wrote their ideas because they wanted to spread their idea. The poets would write their poems, the novelists would write, the Upanyas will write their stories, etc. They wanted to show their feelings, they wanted to express their thoughts. So all they wanted to put forward their ideas, so they wrote. But all this information are very important, first of all. But all these information are being written, and written, who can write? A person who is literate can write. The people who are not literate, they cannot write. So what about the tribals? As I was telling, tribals and peasants and workers. About an important person, we know the autography. About an important person, we know the diary. About a person who came here for pilgrimage, we know the Yatra Virtant. But what about the normal people who can't even read and write? We don't know the information. So there are various things from where we get information. We have plenty, huge information, but still we are lacking some information, right? Official records, newspaper, biographies, books, personal diaries of some important personalities. It can be biographies, it can be autobiographies, census, surveys of the government. The buildings and the monuments also give us information. For example, the Qutub Minar, the written material, inscriptions says all. So all this information are important. That is how we get the information what happened at that time, British rule or colonial rule or other things. So I'll just give you one more cutting of this paper so that I can very well tell you that how this information has come. For example, in 1946 there was a strike by the policemen in Delhi, and they were saying that the food we are getting, the cattle won't eat it. The dals and chapatis, the food is not eatable for even the cattle. So this is how the information we are getting, and we can relate it back. So this is all about this chapter. Thank you so much and take care of yourself.